How do you foster independence with your children, especially with each child being motivated differently?
I think the best way to foster independence in your children is to realize that they're all very different. To try to find one mold and stick every child into that mold is, I have found personally for us, just leads to disaster. I have an 8-year-old little girl right now who is extremely list driven. She's like her mama. You give her a list and you give her a set of things that she needs to do for school each day, and she is just plowing through, so excited to get through that list and so excited to tell you everything she's learned. And then her older brother, who's 2 years older than her, is not at all a list driven guy. He he is all about activity and movement and songs, and he does not want any of that workbook stuff. So we kind of end up doing different things, same subject matter, but in different ways. We use a lot of the different learning styles. So while my 8-year-old would just be thrilled to write a paper about what she learned, my 10-year-old, even though he's older and more able to write a paper, he would much rather sit down and give you an entire video presentation from maybe an interviewer's perspective or a character that he learned about or something along those lines. So we just take very different approaches. It's really the only way that they kind of catch it. We always say there's more caught than taught, and homeschooling is great for that because it allows you to be extremely flexible and tailored to each child's God-given personalities and character traits and strengths and weaknesses.
I believe one of the biggest benefits of being in the home with your children, teaching them and learning all together, is that you also get to teach them how to be independent learners. So you have these times when you're working as a group and when you're learning and warming up as a group, but then you also have these times when they get to go do their work alone. And I've seen this especially in my oldest. He'll say things to me like, "Oh, Mom, you don't have to teach me that. I already know how to do that work." And at first there was something in me that wanted to say, no, I need you to sit. I need to just show you this process. But as the Lord's worked in me and as, we found our place in our homeschool routine, I've realized that it's okay to honor that in him and honor that drive inside of him that says, you know what, if you feel like you can do it, go ahead and sit down and start working on it. And if you need my help, I'm here. And what I believe that does, it just gives him a sense that Mom's not always lurking and looming over my head for every little thing I do, which can sometimes be the personality of us mothers, especially those of us who are schooling. But it gives him freedom to learn within the confines of our classroom where I'm still there and I'm still available. So that's one of the things I just love about homeschool is that it really can teach that independence, but we're also there just in case they still need us, which I feel like us moms need a lot as well. And then the other side of the coin, is that you have different children. You have different children with different motivations. You have different children who learn differently and different things, trip and trigger them into learning. And that's something I've really had to find personally. I know you'll have to find for yourself too. But when you do find it, I would encourage you to lean into it. So I remember my first year having 2 boys in homeschool. My first one learns very differently than my second child. And I really just wanted him to learn the same. I really wanted him to do the same processes, do the same thing as his brother, because it was just easier for me. It would make life easier for me if you learn the same. And I quickly learned that when I pushed that on him, learning was not fun anymore. And homeschooling was not fun anymore. And I don't like school and I don't want to be in school. And so I had to really pray to the Lord and ask for wisdom first, but then also look at my child and say, okay, what are his bents and what are his giftings? Okay, my second born is very active. He loves to do adventurous things and be brave. So how can I fit that into his learning in a way that doesn't take away from, what we're trying to do, but also enhances and helps him in his learning. So one of the things we found for him is that we found he really, because he likes to be active, he does a lot better when he's up and moving. So for instance, I would take we might be working on special sounds in phonics, AY says A. A. And what I would have him do is we'd set up a little trampoline and he would just bounce on the trampoline. And I would just hold up flashcards and I'd say, A, Y says A. And he'd just be bouncing A. And it kind of would look funny from the outside. But for him, coming back the next time, oh, I know that sound, Mom. I know what that says. Because that was just his way of remembering that versus my oldest child who could just look at the card and say, yep, got it. Okay, set it down. So leaning into the Benson giftings of each child is part of the process and the gift of homeschooling. And so when we can do that, when we can tap in and say, you're this type of learner, you're a very linear learner, you're a very active learner, you need me to sit next to you during this assignment. Once we tap into that and then find how that fits into our entire rhythm and routine of homeschool, I think I've told my husband that these are the days I feel like I'm thriving a little bit more just this year because I've really started to tap into that and realize that it's okay to lean into those different things versus trying to force everyone down a funnel of one type of learning.
In life, we are all motivated by different things, different carrots that dangle in front of us. I would definitely say my youngest is totally social. Dude wants social time. So I plan that. I talk with my girlfriends that have boys his age where he can go be a little boy. Because when you have two teenagers in your house that don't want to play with you anymore, I don't know if some of you are struggling with that. You need to find some mamas that have young boys that can get your kids out of the house. So I reward him. He gets up. He has a list. He does his chores. He has his schoolwork done. He's picked up his room. The busy bees, if you decide to do something like that. We all work because we want reward. So he does his work, he gets social time. If he doesn't do his work, then he doesn't get social time, even if that's just down the street with my parents. And I have to be stickler about that. And he's almost 10. And I think age appropriate maturity there, and make sure that the work isn't so overwhelming that he can't get through it. So, that comes with time. Don't be afraid to practice and try different things. He used to use a clipboard and he would check things off and we'd put a sticker for good behavior. So if your child needs a visual reward, find a way to do that. Trust me, the more things you try, it might not work for each kid. But we used to use charts and stickers, and those were helpful. They were helpful tools for me. They just followed me around the house, and he knew that I was marking things. He doesn't really need that anymore because he wants more independence. And he basically tells me, I don't need your help, Mom. You got to love that. 9, 10, 11-year-olds. I feel you out there, mamas. They are definitely going to give you some pushback and attitude, and they're kind of testing the waters of independence, and you want them to. And you don't want to, at the end of those 3 years, not like them. There's some days you're going to not like them, but you got to work through where you can meet them at and have a conversation about where they are. My middle one is motivated by free time and art time. She's my free spirit. And that is part of the gift. And I have to say that the gift of dyslexia and auditory processing. She is so creative, and God's going to use her to do amazing things. She wants free time in her room to sit at her art desk and create. And so I have to make sure that I leave that space in her schedule. And so we talk a lot because she is going to be a freshman next year. And we do have a tutorial. I do think that learning to balance tutorial and co-op and social opportunities in the schedule and making sure that you don't overdo it, you're going to lose your mind. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. There are some weeks that you need to pull back and say, no, we're staying home, because the word homeschool means you're home, and it really does feel better. And you're going to have to find how you're going to have to press the brakes some weeks, and some weeks in the winter, you got to get out, no matter if that's a little hike with friends, that meeting that social reward for my youngest. My oldest, I know some of you are scratching your heads because you're probably trying to think what motivates each of your children. He loves to read. We just gave him 5 bookshelves, and he's motivated getting the work done because he wants to read. He is my quiet, introverted soul, And so we allow him that time. We also say, hey, dude, it's time to come down for a family movie, family dinner, interact with people. Because he probably could live without us some days. And, so I think you've got to really investigate. And this is another place in your meeting with your spouse is talk about what is each child motivated by? And if they're not behaving and they're not getting their schoolwork done, I mean, this is real life. You are preparing them for real life. And there's no such thing as a free lunch. And there's no such thing as like playtime when they get a job. So learning to teach them to work hard. Yes, take a break, go for a walk. I mean, we all need that. My husband does that. He works from home. So I think what, we try to talk about is what are they learning in their maturity of learning to manage their time and manage their reward.
Give them something that they will enjoy learning about. Let them choose some of their own curriculum. So, for example, if you have 20 different math curriculums, give them options. Let them look through, maybe choose your favorites and have 2 or 3 to choose from. If you're looking into, a nice history curriculum, give them something that they will be motivated by, because that's going to encourage their independence. And don't let school become a battle of the wills. If you're starting to wake up every day with this anxiety and this dread because oh my goodness, I have this huge checklist of things that I have to get done and make them get done, and I'm already dreading that they're going to have bad attitudes because I can sense that, then step back and reevaluate and think, okay, maybe I need to tweak something in my homeschool. Maybe I need to tweak something in parenting, and give them something that they enjoy. So as far as kids being motivated differently, they definitely are, but all kids are motivated by food, at least in my experience. So we do a lot of snacks together, and that also helps with better attitudes throughout the day. So when we do morning time, I almost always have some sort of snack, and it might be something simple like popcorn or M&Ms. I used to do M&Ms until I read about like the red food dye and stuff. So now I haven't done M&Ms in a while, but, make some brownies or something. Revolve it around something that becomes meaningful and exciting to them, so that when you ring that bell for reading time, they're excited to come. And yeah, they might be just coming for the food right then, but you're also gathering and reading a story together, and they're going to start looking forward to that part as well. So giving them something to look forward to, basically, and that really helps motivate them. Sometimes little kids enjoy getting stickers on their chart, having a schedule where they can see like the daily calendar and they can put stickers on. My sister does that, and I have never been organized enough to make it happen, but I think it's a great idea to be able to track your days and your goals. So like almost setting personal goals for themselves, and then they get to mark off at the end of the day. So give them some things that they can take on for themselves. Like, this is your responsibility, and we're going to read your report at the end, or you're going to get up and give a speech to our family with a picture that you drew about this person in history, and just let them roll with it. And don't be quite so stubborn if you want to have your way. Like, I want them to write a report about this person, and it's got to be this long. If they're really, really not interested, help them find something similar that is a good compromise that they can go with. And also give them time for their own creativity, because I've seen in our kids, if they have the free time and the space to be creative, then they're going to run with that. And limit screen time, like majorly limit screen time. I say this, and I had Peter Rabbit on like repeat yesterday while I was out trying to learn how to milk a cow, because that's our newest family adventure. But we really, really do almost zero screen time, except for rare occasions. And that fosters so much creativity. And it also gives them independence, because they're taking responsibility for their assignment, and then they know what's required of them. So be specific about their directions, and then let them just go with it. And I think that will help them to feel motivated.